Okay, so looks everything is set up. Let's start. So today we'll be talking about socket programming with Python. This is GLC webinars, and my name is Achmad Mardiansyah. Yeah. So the agenda that will be discussed today is about the socket programming. So we'll be doing introduction about GLC networks. We review prerequisite knowledge, and then Python networking, and then socket programming, and then we do some debugging about if you already set up your network programming. Okay, so that's the agenda today. Introduction for those who are new to GLC networks. We are based in Bandung. Our areas are training and IT consulting. We do Linux, we do MicroTik, we do programming. Yeah, so, and then we develop our own software related to billing. We have regular events like today for a webinar. My name is Achmad, and then I'm based in Bandung as well, doing MicroTik networking, and then many users. Linux user, MicroTik user, networking users, PostgreSQL user, PHP user, and then of course today we are doing Python, so I'm Python users as well. Yeah. I have LinkedIn account, so if you don't mind, we can connect through LinkedIn. And then this is our past experience. Mostly we do ISP stuff, so like set up networking, build ISP, set up ISP, integration with software like a Radius or billing, and so on and so forth. We do projects in several countries in Europe, in Africa, Asia. I've never been to America. Perhaps someday. Yeah. So yeah, that's what we are. About the webinar itself, I can see some of you already contacted us about the topic. So yeah, we can do a collaboration webinar. We already done the collaboration webinar several times. Yeah. So if you want to join, and then feel free to come. Yeah. Next is about yourself. So I already introduced myself. Now it's your turn. So at least please tell us where you are from. At least we know where you are. Okay, I can see some of you already introduced yourself. Thank you very much. Yeah, many are from Indonesia. Okay, one from India. Okay, thank you very much for coming. Okay, so for those who haven't introduced yourself, please do. Yeah, at least we know where you are, where you're from. Right, so prerequisite. So we assume you already know several stuff. So because this is not a very basic stuff. Yes, for to some extent, yes, but you need to have something in your mind before coming to this webinar about this topic. Okay, so we assume you already know some topics like computer networks, the encapsulation process during the networking stuff, and then Python programming, and then Linux skill. All right. Okay, so I can see some chat here from Yogi. Oh, okay. Indonesian, I'm Indonesian too. Thank you very much for coming. And then Richie. Thank you very much, Richie. Welcome to the webinar. Okay. Okay, next is prerequisite knowledge. First is the basic stuff, basic programming for Python. So at least with this, you're already familiar. We assume you're already familiar with these things. Yeah, this is very standard when you are learning programming, right? So lesson number one is variables, okay? And then what comes with variables? Data types, yeah? So you have integer, and then you have float. Okay, you have string. Okay, so those are the data types. And then the commands, keywords, okay, like print, you cannot make a variables that is similar to the keywords, right? And then the operations, plus, minus, addition, subtraction, division, modulus. Okay, so this one is modulus. Okay, and then you need to know the concept of array. Okay, so this is like this is the how you define variables, how you print, and then this is the one example of array. So array can be a list, tuple, or dictionary. Okay, this is one example of variables that has type of list. In Python, we call it list. In other language, we call it array. So it's one variables, but the content has which contains several items. Okay, so this is item number 0, number 1, number 2. And then this is also important loop. Okay, so it can be for loop or while loop. Only two of them, as far as I know, in Python. So there is in Bash shells, you have do while, but in Python, you only have while. So this is how it looks like for if you use for loops. Okay. And then we don't have like for I equals to 1, and then I less than 10, right? And then I plus plus. Okay, so this is very common if you are using C++ or PHP. We don't use it. If you are using several steps of increment incremental numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4 up to end. And then here you can use, in Python, you can use range. Okay, so range is similar to previous one. You have a start, you have stop, and then you have step. Okay, so triple S. You start with 1 until, for example, 10, and then the step is, for example, 1. So the result will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 until 10. Okay, so as simple as that. Yeah, perhaps I need to update the slide here. So to add data type and then for loop. Okay, we'll do it. And also for while this is, we use while, for example, if we want to loop forever. Yeah, so because 4 is finite. Okay, so for example, you have 10 iteration, 1 million iteration, 400 iteration. So it's finite. Okay. Yeah, you already know how many iterations or how many loops, how many repetitions you want to do. But for while loop, it can be many things. It can be infinite. Okay, it can be 1, can be 2. Can be many things. Okay, so it's much more flexible compared to 4. And then for that, so you have to be careful that if you are using while, then there must be a flag so that you can escape from the loop. Otherwise, you'll be in loop forever. So for example, here, this is the condition where you stop the loop. Okay, when I, as long as I less than 6. Okay, so hopefully you understand that one. And then Python is, well, in the beginning it's procedural language, but you can use OOP by using class and then other features related to classes like object-oriented, right? So you have a class, you have inheritance, you have what else? Abstractions, okay. Well, so this is how procedural Python looks like. So the code is executed from top to bottom. And then in order to have efficient code, usually we separate our code into functions. So functions are Okay, so as a block of programs like you see here, so this is how we define function. This is a function name. The function has parameters here, and then here's the code block. Okay, and then you call the functions, and then you put arguments here. Okay, the argument will be taken and then send it to the function. So as simple as that. Okay. Look, if you have questions, and then just type in the group chat. Okay. Sometimes, this is an extension. So sometimes, not sometimes, often. Okay, often when we develop software, we develop function and then we put functions into a library. So we have, we have one library here, or modules. Okay, so this is our modules, and then inside our modules we put our class, our functions or method. If we are using OOP, we put the dictionary, we put many stuff over there. Okay, and then so we have two files. So first files contains the library, which sometimes we call it library or modules. And then we have our main software or files here, where we are calling the library. Okay, so we put here, I'm calling my modules. So there must be a files named my module. So inside we can call the contents of the modules over here. So person is being called here. Okay, so that's how you read the code with external library. Next is about exception. So for example, so exception is a feature to handle an error. Okay, so when we develop a software, or maybe some calculations, they will produce error. Okay, and then the way we produce error is accommodated via this exception. So instead of, so for example, A is 5, B is 0, and then we do calculation A divided by B. So what is happening here? So 5 divided by 0, this is unlimited, right? And then unlimited means the computer will have needs to allocate an unlimited amount of memory to allocate the result of this. And then what's the result? Your computer might hang. But because a computer already smart, so when they detect, oh, okay, something divided by 0, and then they will just throw an exception, throw an error that, oh, okay, error divided by 0. Usually that's what happened. Okay. So for us, because we are using exception, so the way we use exception is we use try and except. In PHP, we use try and catch. Here we use try and except. Okay. So it depends on the which exception. So exception means error. So we have lots of exceptions. You can read it here. Okay. So this is one example of error. This is one example of error. Okay. So instead of producing or displaying an error, we will display a message like this. Okay. So division by error by 0 is not allowed. Okay. So that's the function of exceptions. So it really helps our software. I mean, it really helps users to understand the behavior of our software. So because when they click something, when they execute something, and then an error comes. Okay, I can still hear somebody's speaking here. Is there somebody is? Yeah, it looks like somebody is turning on the microphone. Okay, so Okay, let's get back here. Yeah, so again, so we already have exception. Okay, so there are lots of built-in exception in Python. So you can just use all of them, and then you create your own error message. So instead of displaying very, very unpleasant message of error that contains code here and there, we just throw in the display saying that, oh, okay, division by 0 is not allowed. Okay. Next is about the OC layer and protocols. Yeah, OC layer and protocol. Yeah, as I said, when we talk about networking, we always talk about in the function for layers, right? And yeah, talking about layers, and then every layer sorry, every layer has its own every layer has its own responsibility or functions. So for example, layer 1 is for physical, doing the electrical signal transmission. In layer 2, we have a data link layer, how you access the media, and layer 3 is a network layer for addressing and path determination, aka routing. Layer 4 is for transport, session, presentation, and then application. For you who are new to networking, maybe you are a little bit confusing about this layer. Yeah, that happens to me a long time ago. Yeah, but that's fine. That's at least you know. You need to know how networking works. Okay, so we have lots of functions needs to be done to send a message from A to B. Okay, and then for that reason, we need to do a signaling. Okay, signaling so that the package or data can reach from source to destination. Okay. So this is how it looks like. Okay, so we have application data here. Okay, and then the data is wrapped. Okay, so this is next encapsulation added by TCP header. Okay, and then added by a new header and then a new header here. So in the end, there is a lot of encapsulation process. Each layer has its own data, and that is added into the data, the original data. Okay. Oops. Oh, okay. I put this twice. Yeah, so this is one example of the header. We have a TCP and UDP on top of TCP over here. And then we have UDP over here. And then on layer 3, we have two options. Either you use IPv4 or IPv6 over here. Okay. And then on layer 2, we have what is it? We have Ethernet. Okay, this is how the Ethernet looks like. Okay, yeah, oops, or we have Wi-Fi here. Okay, so this is the header for Wi-Fi. So as you can see, the data here. Okay, data here is coming from the upper layer. Okay, so we have a TCP header here. We have a network header here. Everything is put into data. So on layer 2, the encapsulation output is called a frame. Okay, so this is how the layer 2 header looks like. Okay, a layer for Wi-Fi. Okay, this is Wi-Fi, and this one is for Ethernet. And then if you notice, there is a big overhead. So when you send a data here, and then actually the data is only this small, but your header is much more longer than your own data. And not just header, you have a trailer here. So that's how communication works. So you're not only sending the data, but on that data we add more information so that the package can arrive from source to the destination. Okay, let's move on. Okay, socket programming. So socket programming is one way for communication. Yes. Yeah. So in the beginning, there is a requirement that, okay, so I have a computer, okay, and then I have a computer here, and then in this computer, inside the computer we have an operating system, and then on top of operating system we have applications, right, like Apache, PHP, MySQL, Postgres, and so on and so forth. Okay, we have browser as well. Yeah, so we have softwares. So this software needs to be able to communicate to each other. So they need to be able to send data from one to another. Okay. Yeah. For example, I'm opening my browser, and then on the browsers I put www.glcnetworks.com. I press enter, and then for that one, so I'm typing, for example, localhost, okay, because everything there is inside one computer. So I have Apache, for example, I'm using Linux, just example, okay. I'm using Linux. On top of that, I install Apache, PHP, MySQL, okay. So, and then of course the browser, Firefox, Chrome, you just name it, okay. So when I type localhost and then something appears, so it means that my browser is to be able to communicate with the web server, in this case Apache. Apache will talk to the PHP, and then PHP will contact the MySQL for the data. Okay, so that's why that one is called IPC, inter-process communications. Okay, yeah, that's a generic term that refers to method for exchanging data between application or software. Okay, it's like PHP and MySQL, PHP and what else? The Apache. Okay. Yeah. So we have IPC, inter-process communications, and then we talk IPC method. So IPC can be a pipe, or for example, in Unix. So for example, you have ls -a, for example, you do pipe, and then you count wc -l. You want to count how many lines how many lines does the output has. Okay, so yeah, that's one option. Another option is for semaphore. Okay, another option is for like network or memory sharing. Okay, it's possible. Yeah, and the last one is for socket. Okay, socket is famous in networking. Okay, so socket method can be a Unix socket or stream socket. Okay, so Unix socket, if you are using, for example, MySQL. So for example, PHP is accessing MySQL. Okay, and then MySQL is not listening on port, it's listening on socket. So socket is like a file. In Linux, you cannot find. I don't think there is a Unix socket in Windows. So you know, you will never see Unix socket on Windows. No. Yeah. So if you want to see Unix socket, for example, is for example is the MySQL. Okay. So MySQL is opening a Unix socket. Okay. In /var/run maybe mysql.sock. Okay. So we will communicate through this file, the small files. Okay, Unix socket. You call it Unix socket. Yeah, so that way we can communicate between, for example, MySQL server and MySQL client. So if you type MySQL clients, okay, and then that one actually is the client part of MySQL. Okay, so MySQL has two types. Has two types. First is MySQL server and MySQL client. Okay, so server is the one that is a passive passive party. So it's always awaiting. So it's like a server, yeah, like a waiter in a restaurant. Okay, a waiter in restaurant, sometimes we call it server. Okay, so the server usually is a passive part, listening the request. On the active part, usually we call it client. So client is the one that initiating request to the server. Okay, so that's one architecture that we are using in networking, client server or peer-to-peer. Okay. So that was the Unix socket. Okay, so we have a server and a client here. So server is always passive, and then client is active. Okay. So socket, we have Unix socket or stream socket. If you are using a socket, if you are using socket with for networking, and then in networking, usually you will use a stream socket. What do you need for stream socket? Well, stream socket, you need to have a data link. This is here. Data link can be, it's a layer 2, right? And access to layer 2 to network, like Ethernet, Wi-Fi. What else? SCTP, for example, or SS7 card. But most likely, layer 2 technology that we use most is Ethernet. Okay, it's been very famous since many years ago, since 1990s. And then after that, we have an internet layer here. Okay, either IPv4 or IPv6. So when we talk about internet, we usually use IP network. IP implementation. Okay, so is there any alternative than IP? Yes. For example, IPX from Apple, it's also operating in layer 3, but as de facto, many many vendors, many software developers, they prefer IP for routing, for addressing. And then on layer 4 here, okay, we use a transport layer, either TCP or UDP. Okay, so that's what the socket is. And then socket programming. So why do you need to learn socket programming? Well, if you know how to program socket programming, and then you can build client server application, as simple as that. And then, for example, this is your you have ability. For example, you have a device here, okay, and then this device has API or software, okay, and then you can remote them from the network. Okay, so this is network cloud, okay, and then this is a controller. So this controller can connect to the this device, okay, through the socket. Okay, so which one is the server? So here's the server, okay. I mean the server in terms of who is listening, okay. So we run a software here, okay, with a certain port, and then we control the device from remote place. Others you can build online games, okay, chat application, data gathering, IoT. Yeah, this is important. Yeah, for example, I develop like a socket programming on what is it, on Raspberry Pi. So we have a Raspberry Pi here. Oh, okay, I don't have it here. So with this Raspberry Pi, we put several sensors, okay, and then we control that Raspberry Pi from the network. So I set up a socket, a server on Raspberry Pi, and then I access the device. Okay, and then you can create your own protocols here. So the limit is your imagination. So it's up to you. You can build many things you like. Okay, so Python socket programming. So first, the one thing that makes Python famous as a choice for a developer is because is the community. Okay, community is big, and then the community contributes lots of modules. Okay, yeah, for example, socket here. Yeah, sockets. Okay, so this is the modules. And then sometimes other sockets, for example, you have, we do also data science, okay, but we don't talk about data science here or machine learning. Yeah, one thing that makes Python is popular because of those modules, okay. Otherwise, you have to create your own modules, create your own module for so that the modules can set up a socket for your application. Luckily in Python, yeah, the community already provide the socket modules, so you can just use it with just one line of code. Import, import socket, finish. And then after that, you write your own code. Either you create a software or other stuff. Okay, and then yeah, after that, after you import the modules, and then we can set up like a server side and client side. As I said, server side is the one that that is listening to a particular IP or a port, so that yeah, this side is always the passive part, and yeah, for the client is the one that is actively connected to the server. Okay, so that's Python socket programming. So at least you know the idea. And for troubleshooting, protocol analyzer is your friend. So yeah, it depends. Yeah, in the beginning, usually we don't encrypt our message. So yeah, yeah. So that we can see what is happening in the network. Okay, so yeah, live practice. Okay, so I will set up a software here. Okay, let me share my screen over here. I think the first step is to set up a server side. Okay. Okay, so I have a Proxmox console here, and then this is my IP address. Oh, okay, I have Docker here. This is private IP. Oh, okay, so I have a public IP here. So I can access my website. Okay, let me bring so live practice. Oh yeah. So this one is for Docker. Yeah, so this is live practice. Okay. Yeah, it's there. And then this is me. I'm already logging into live practice. Okay, so here I can create, for example, server.py, vim server.py. Okay, so yeah, I think I can do copy and paste. Oops, not good. Okay, so this is one example. Let's save it first. Oh, okay, I forgot to put the shebang lines. Okay, so /usr bin slash Python 3. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so let's discuss the code. Yeah, so this is the interpreter for Python 3, and then you you load the library. Sorry. Maybe here. Okay, because close to my right hand. I'm right-handed. Yeah, so so this is your socket, and then you use your socket over here. Inside the socket, there is a method called so socket here is the name of the modules, and then here is the name of the method or functions, and then that functions requires arguments, and then this is your arguments. Okay, and then yeah, you are using internet. So internet means here is IPv4. Okay, and then socket stream here, meaning you are using TCP. Okay, so you created a variables here, and then the variables will be used in the next in the next lines. Yeah, you create an object here. So you call a library, and then the library create variables. The variables type is object. So you know variables, right? Like A, B, C, and then the variables has data types. The data types can be a numeric, integer, or float, or string, and the the variables sorry, the variables here has a type of object. Okay, so this one is object. So inside the object, because you create an object, and then you can call the method inside, and then one method is bind. Okay, and then you bind. It means like you reserve or listening. You're listening on this IP address, but I don't have this IP address. My IP address was blah blah blah. Okay, so it means that you are listening to all address that is available on your computer. Okay, so listen on all addresses. And then after that, you define that, okay, you'll be listening on port 8080, and then you start listening. Okay, so as simple as that. Okay, so up to this point, your server is done. Okay, this is server. Server is done. Simple as that. Okay, so let's try it. Oh, okay, I need to create another console, perhaps. Wait a moment. Okay, maybe other terminals. Six dot. What's the IP address? I forgot. Oh, it's 108. Oh. Okay, let's save it first. Make sure it's executable. Server.py. Okay. And then, oh, what is the IP address? I forgot. Okay. Okay, I'm logging into the live practice. Okay, as root. Oh, sorry. Let me check. Looks like it's okay. Yeah. Yeah, okay, it's over here. Okay, let me check. Oops. Uh-oh. Looks not good. Okay, I will do comment on this. Oh, okay. Looks like it's not okay. Save before close now. Okay, as you can see, I can check the socket on the server. And then we can see there is no port for 8080. So yeah, okay, perhaps you can just execute this one. Server.py. Just got problem with the okay, let's close this one perhaps, and then duplicate in new window. Okay, so here, okay, let's do execute public HTML in server.py. Yeah, sometimes happens here because indentation problem. So you have to make sure that yeah, indentation is properly set up. So if you use tab, and then make sure everything is tab. If not, and then no. Okay, so it looks okay. I try to execute server.py. It's on line 18. Missing parenthesis called print. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, print requires parentheses. Okay, because this one is created using Python 2. Okay, let's update on 18, yes. This one as well. Okay, should be okay by now. Yeah. So when I press, nothing happened. Why? Because it is working in the background. Okay, so let's check. Is there any port 8080? Yes, there is. See? So there is a port, open port here, port 8080. Okay. So perhaps we can open that. 8080. But this is not this is not a web server. Okay. Okay, this is not a web server. This is just a socket, just a normal socket, because if I open this with what else with browsers, and it means that the browser thinks that okay, the port 8080 is open. Yes, okay, I can send package, I can send message. Okay, but after that I will send HTTP requests. Okay, so HTTP 1/1. The HTTP versions, and then get index.php or whatever, and then I'm expecting a reply. Okay, because this is not a web server, so it will not reply the request that is coming from my web browser with that kind of reply. So yeah, as you can see, nothing here. Okay, so because my browser expecting a proper message, but this web server cannot do that. See, yeah, only concatenate a string. Yeah, so as you can see, yeah, the server stops, and then the socket is destroyed. Okay, let's check. See, there is no socket 8080 because the application is off here. Okay, so yeah, So let's check the code again. So this is what I'm saying. Okay, that's why you need to understand the while loop. Okay, so it's here. So while true, it means that it will do looping forever. Okay. Yeah. So we do develop. Up to this point, we already listen to the interface, and then yeah. So it means that the port is already reserved. Okay, and ready to accept the connection. Okay. When a connection coming, what do you want to do? Okay. So this is the code. Okay. So if there is a request, coming, this is your code. Okay, this is your code, important code. Okay, so you have to do while through. So you are listening, checking if there is a incoming request. So you set up a connection address. Okay, server accept. So it's coming from here. Okay, so you accept from clients. This is 0. Okay, this is just initial connection, and then inside, okay, you do a while loop and then checking. Okay, so this is the data, and then this is your buffer. Okay, so if you remember buffer overflow, yeah, so this is it means that the incoming request is exceeding your buffer. So it means that it can make your operating system hang. Okay, because buffer overflow. Because why? Because every connection that is created here, it needs to reserve resources on your computer. Resources can be a CPU, RAM or memory, and then yeah, CPU and RAM. We don't need storage because this is a socket programming, right? Yeah, either these two, okay, RAM or CPU. Okay, so it means that when you create when you reserve a software, when you do binding, it means that you have to reserve an amount of memory for your application. Okay, and then for every connection you have to allocate memory and CPU for that. And then for that, if you're not carefully design your software, that software can be exploited, and then it can goes to a buffer overflow context. Okay, yeah. So this is how it works. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Back to the this is a buffer. Okay, and then this is if there is no data, and then break. So and then break from this while. Okay, so break from this while, and then you print from client, and then you print to the display. So if the client sends something, and then you will see something on the display. Okay, and then of course after you display. After you display, you send back to the clients, okay, and then send I am a server. And after that, connection close, and then you stop the connection. Okay, yeah, and then you come back after you close. After you close, it means that you send TCP close. And after that, you keep continuing listening to a new request. Okay. Okay, let's do. Hopefully, you don't feel comfortable with this one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. From my side, I will do. I need to set up a client's version. Okay. So pwd. Okay. Vim client.py. Okay. Yeah, same thing. Import socket. For client, this is the code looks like. Okay, so you still import socket, and then you need to tell that you want to connect to a particular IP address. So in this case, my IP address is ping live practice.lab.tlcnetworks.com. Okay, so this is my IP address. Okay, and then I'm sending text here. I am client, and then from server, I need to reserve buffer as well. For example, this one, and then I close, and then I print from server. Okay, finish. Let's check. Okay, let's run the server. Okay, so, oh, sorry. Okay, server is running. Okay, let's check whether it's open a new port or not. Okay, so port is reserved. Listening on port 880. For me, oh, okay, from Anaconda. It's good. Client.py. Yeah. Send and then disconnected. Yeah, so. Oh, okay. So byte object is not string. Yeah, so I need to encapsulate the clients here. Yeah, byte like object is required. So it says something wrong with the, yeah, something wrong with the, something wrong with the code here. So I need to send, if I send, and then the send needs to be object. Okay, so client send. Okay, perhaps you can edit the code later. So let's do it again. I'm sending. Yeah, okay, doesn't matter. So as you can see, the client is still listening. Okay, from client and then the data. And then for this one, we need to, at least we can troubleshoot using the Wireshark. Okay, so let's start. Okay, let me run the software first. Okay, server is running. Port is listening. Okay, and then I will start Wireshark. Here. Okay. Okay, continue without saving. Okay, let me flush the filter. Stop. Okay, start again. Continue without saving. Yes, okay, it's already running. And then I will send the request from the client. Okay, send again several times. Okay, it's fine. Stop. And then we can check. We can check the you can check the, what is it, the Wireshark, the protocol analyzer. Where's the Wireshark here? Oh, okay. Okay, so yeah, so this is the Wireshark. Okay, and then we will see. Let's do the filter, applies filter, select it, and then the IP address is this one. Okay, change the IP address because I don't want to display all um, all um, all traffic. So I just want to filter some traffic that destined to a particular IP address. So here I can follow the TCP stream. Okay, so this is how it looks like. And then, yeah, here it is. Okay, so first I will do sync. Okay, so it's like a three-way handshake for this one. So this is from me. Okay, so this is from client to server. Okay, so this is step 1, and this is step 2. Okay, three-way handshake. Step 2, and then here's the step 3. Okay, I need to do handshake step 3, and then the server send reply, and then I will send reply to the server itself. Okay, let's check the message. Okay, so we can see this is the encapsulation. This is layer 2, layer 2. This is layer 2. Okay, and then this is layer 3. Okay, encapsulation. Then this is the layer 4. Okay. And then here is the message. Oh, I don't see the message here. Okay, so perhaps I can filter the destination IP address. At least I want to see the message. Yeah, so the message cannot be captured by Wireshark here. Looks like it's got error during the transmission. Yeah, we need to update the code. Okay, let me check. Oh, you have to convert it into bytes. Oh, okay. Okay, so it means that okay, maybe this one. Bytes. Okay. String. comma, and then the encoding type UTF-8. Okay, let's try. Oh yeah, looks okay, looks okay, looks okay. So I need to update the server part. Okay, when I'm sending, I need to convert into bytes. Bytes, blah, blah, blah. Over here, and then the data type, the encoding UTF-8. Okay, looks okay. Let's try. Oh, address already used? Wow. Oh yeah, I have to kill that one. Oh, okay. Nothing there. Address is already used, really? Okay, let's use other port, 8081. Okay, it's running on 8081. Yeah, so this is it, 8081. Cool, now we change the destination port to 8081. Okay, let's run the Wireshark once again. Continue saving. Now, okay, run the server and then should be okay. Right, stop and then check. Okay, I can see data here. Now I can see that. Okay, let's follow TCP stream. See, I can snoop. See, so that's why telnet is dangerous. Okay, if somebody like me in the middle, I can see anything that you send. Yeah. So, guys, as you can see, here's the data that we are sending to the from the clients to the server. So I'm client here. Okay, so and then the server should reply the data. Oh, okay, so we have problem with line 17. Yeah, we can do it later. Yeah. Okay, guys. So I think that's all. Any questions? So sorry, it's a bit late here. Oh, okay, almost 9 o'clock. Sorry. Wow. When doing troubleshooting is you forgot the time is fast, very fast, flies very fast. Guys, so again, is there any questions? No questions? Come on, please.
Why exercise?
Say again. Yeah, so this is end of the slide. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have feedback, so we really need your feedback. It's available here, GLC feedback. For further events, it's available on our website. We have also Facebook page for your information source. Slides will be available on Slideshare. Discord is also available for discussion in Bahasa Indonesia. Recording will be available on YouTube. Any questions? You can type your questions in the group chat. I'll put the link as well here. Okay, so for your information. Right, guys, so I think it's been late. Any questions so far? I don't see any question in the group chat. So hopefully you can you understand what I'm doing here. Okay. Yeah. So the thing is, okay. Let me summarize. We set up a server. Okay, server is listening on particular IP address and port, and then we have a client side here. So a client sends something to the server, and then server reply. We have issue here that on Python, we need to send the data type of bytes, not string. So we need to convert the data that we send into bytes, not the string. And then for that one, we can use keyword or command bytes. Okay, any questions? Yeah, I heard some questions. Somebody is asking something. No? Really? No? No questions? Okay, if no questions, then it's time to a group photo. Please turn on your camera, please, 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 please. Okay, turn on your camera and then we'll take a photo. Right. Okay, I will count 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. And then thumbs up. Okay. 1, 2, and 3. Yes. For the source code, yeah, I think we can share the source code in the recording. All right. Any questions so far? Again, guys, for you to make our webinar better, please submit your feedback here. So we really need your feedback to make our webinar better. Yeah, I think that's all. Again, thank you very much. And then I'll see you in the next webinar. And thank you and goodbye.